The Pentagon, that's the HQ of the US Armed Forces, just rolled out new rules that could change how Americans learn about their own military. If you want to control the narrative, this is how you do it. And America looks to be gearing up for a strong pivot to a closed media system where the state does indeed steer, if not completely control, the narrative. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's department now requires journalists covering the Pentagon to acknowledge limits on gathering or reporting information not explicitly approved by government officials in the US. In simple terms, you journalists better run the reporting you're about to do by us. Get our permission by the Pentagon before you publish. If we don't approve what you're about to report, if you break the rules, you lose your credentials. Thanos snap you out of the media scene, bruv. I've got an infinity gauntlet, so I can. You basically lose your press credentials, which is the equivalent of breaking someone's fingers with a hammer if they're a craftsman, if they're an artisan, if they make pottery or, make sweaters, grandma's knitting sweaters. You seal their ability to trade. That's a similar equivalent I can come up with for taking away a journalist's credentials. Potentially, journalists could be charged with carrying out criminal acts if they go against this latest Pentagon reporting guideline. What's the justification for such tight new measures? National security. And also, I quote, common sense media procedures. This is Pete Hegseth's term for what he's done, what he's instructed journalists to have to adhere by. This is apparently common sense. The thing is, half of America thinks common sense is one set of values, and the other half strongly disagree right now, right? The Democrats, Team Blue, and the Republicans, Team Red, they are quite polar opposite right now. The Republicans are in power. Trump is a Republican. But even amongst the Republicans, they're like, yo, even we don't agree amongst ourselves, right? MAGAs, Make America Great Again, America First. Why is Israel first? It seems like a lot of the time. What's up with the Epstein files? What's up with these tariffs? All the people that voted for Trump, why are we being given the short end of the stick? Why are you giving tax breaks to the millionaires? It doesn't make sense. I voted you in, but I'm losing my job. Like, there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of strain, even amongst the side that's in power. So now common sense is very debatable. You can't really use common sense as a way to push forward something that's as divisive, as dividing as this kind of new Pentagon ruling. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Reuters, the Associated Press, the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, Fox, CBS, NBC, ABC, ABCDEFG, LGBTQIA+, all those networks, except for the last two. Okay, sorry. All those networks, though, they all rejected the rules, calling them a threat to journalistic independence and an attack on the First Amendment, which in America is your right to free speech. But anyway, all those huge outlets, basically all big news organizations said, no, we aren't following those tapped rules, fam. They didn't say it like that. No one talks like that. Not even Gen Z. I'm just trying too hard. Sorry. So who accepted these new rules? Just one outlet, One America News Network, OANN. That's it, just them. Have you even heard of them, fam? Have we ever... One outlet amongst all major American news outlets agreed to the Pentagon's new controls on what can be reported by journalists. And this news outlet is described by many as fringe and right-wing. Right? It's definitely not mainstream and definitely not centrist. You haven't heard of it, a lot, I would say, for the majority of my viewers here. This isn't a total media shutdown, by the way. I just want to roll back the alarm. It's a specific guideline for defense coverage from the Pentagon. So when the Pentagon announces something about the military, about defense, about foreign policy, mobilization, for example, or coordination with others, that has to go through this new ruling, right? But critics are warning that this sets a dangerous precedent. It could be the starting act in a much wider media crackdown. This is where it begins with the media and national security. It slowly rolls out until you don't know anything about anyone unless the government has stamped it with its approval. Trump's administration, after all, is cancelling visas based on negative social media comments made about Charlie Kirk. This is all over the news. The visas are being cancelled, not just one or two, I'm talking dozens, based on comments found about Charlie Kirk. Any comments that are seen as disrespectful, seen as downplaying Charlie Kirk's death or whatever, citizens or visa holders in America, not citizens, sorry, visa holders in America, they're having their visas cancelled. So you think that kind of administration is just going to stop the common sense national security restrictions on what news can be delivered, is just going to stop it at the military, bruv? No, it's already beyond the military. Right? This is not the end of the media restrictions. It's highly likely this is just the beginning. For better or worse, I'm just reporting it to you. You may be upset, you might be happy. I don't know. But there you go, that's the news. Now, when nearly every major newsroom says, except one, says that there's something wrong with this, we can't agree to it, that tells you something about how alarming these rules really are. All the right wing, all the left wing have got together. That's how worrying this is. Do you know how bad it is for CNN and Fox and New York Times to unite and say, we're together on this one? Are you kidding? You're together. You're at each other's throats every hour. American media has already been problematic by my assessment, which is why polling suggests that millions, tens of millions in America, especially the youth, rely on alternative media to get their news and analysis. Some rely on a guy in London, for example, who drinks tea very loudly and doesn't have the time to edit his videos. I hear he's much loved nonetheless. You can either confirm or deny in the comments. I don't know. Now, with this change, with this change to freely report by journalists, discourse in America continues in a certain direction. A restriction on everything that opposes the current administration. That's the direction it's going in, for better or worse, right? Just giving you the analysis. Trump is the best. America is the strongest it's ever been, and it's absolutely on the rise, right? It's never been stronger, America. It's the center of the world, is becoming even more the center of the world. And there is, and never has been, any war in Ba Sing Se. That last segment, if you can't tell, if you didn't get the last Airbender reference, that last, it's all fake. Anyway, I was just trying to take care of my media credentials, not that I have any. Now, a last point I want to make. Those legacy news outlets that refused to abide by these rules, basically, they are foundational to the reality, the reporting that builds the reality in the minds of millions, hundreds of millions. They're foundational. They report so people like I can report. They publish articles that I can then read. And then from a variety of sources, I distill out the facts without the spin that each outlet applies to it. But if they go, it makes us go to a certain extent. It makes the job of your independent media even harder. Because we don't have journalists on the ground that can ask Trump a question, but we can read an article by the Associated Press, or New York Times, or Fox, or CNN, or Reuters, very reputable. Can't do that if Reuters isn't even on the scene, can we? Time will tell how things turn out on this front, and I'll be here to report to you, for as long as I can, the news and the analysis, unbiased and without the Western spin. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Mahfouz, or NewsBaba, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.